Hello everyone, so welcome back to another round of rapid fire reviews. So of course, I do my rapid fire reviews when I get a little behind on my movie watching of the year. So basically what I do is I pick 4 films that are kind of either straight to streaming movies, so things you'll find on Netflix, Disney Plus, Amazon Prime, or things that came out in theaters that I just missed until now. So I got 4 films I'm going to be covering today. So those 4 are Blasted, The Sea Beast, Brian and Charles, and Gold. So yeah, without further ado, just gonna give my, of course, quick little 2 cents about the films, what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, what I recommended, my score for it. Again, just a really quick overview of my feelings for each of these movies. So without further ado, let's get into this edition of Rapid Fire Reviews. So the first film I have today is Blasted. This film is about a man who's going on his bachelor party for the weekend, and he is someone who is just absolutely worked to the bone at all times, and basically he ends up turning his bachelor party weekend into a pitch for an investor for his firm to get him excited about investing in it. So, of course, his friends aren't too happy about all of this, but they take a trip out into the mountains, and this kind of turns sideways where the mountains that they go to are heavily rumored to be part of an alien civilization, and people have been trying to break the code for years and years and years. So this is kind of part of the gimmick that they bring into this, of course, trip that they have. But of course, as kind of teased a little bit, an alien invasion actually starts happening. And it is up to this group of course, bachelors to stop the alien invasion from happening in this town and, of course, spreading any further and potentially harming the lives of everyone on Earth. And they start to realize that the only way to defeat these aliens is, thankfully, they have their old friend who's just kind of the childhood kid who never really grew up, and he's super into laser tag. He brings his gear so their friends can play some point during the bachelor party, and the only thing that really affects this type of aliens is ultra sensitive light, which is emitted from the blasters that they have when it comes to the laser tag guns. So, of course, it sounds absolutely wild and goofy and dumb, and it definitely is, but I had a lot of fun with this movie in all honesty. It's very campy, very B movie, but it's something that I found was done very, very well. I mean, I knew it wasn't going to be anything super spectacular, but taking it for what it is, I did have a lot of fun with this movie. I like the characters. There's a lot of actually really fun and good jokes that they have. Of course, like laser tag duo, the names that they give each other are really, really funny. And yeah, I just found it very quirky and also too just very quick with its humor. It's very smart in a lot of ways and just very quirky and very, very funny in a lot of ways too. Of course, if you're just taking it for the story, it's super simple. There's a lot of exposition, or of course, like things that happen off screen that are very predictable, and of course too the pacing and just everything of this is very predictable, but really I had a lot of fun with this movie. And again, if you just take it for a fun campy cheesy B film, you're gonna get a really good one here. So with really everything taken together, I'm gonna have to give Blasted a 7 out of 10. You're gonna find this one on Netflix. It's about an hour and 50 minutes long. And yeah, honestly, like I said, goofy, but very, very fun to watch. So the next film I have is The Sea Beast. You'll find this one on Netflix as well, and it's about an hour and 55 minutes long, directed by Chris Williams, and it stars Carl Urban, Dan Stevens, Jared Harris. There is a lot of actually really good voice talent that's brought into this film. But this is about a young girl who stows away on a ship full of legendary sea monster hunters. There's basically a kingdom that was infested with monsters. They would come up onto the shore, so they employed people to become hunters, to hunt down the sea beasts and make certain the shore is safe. So while this girl stows away on this legendary monster hunting vessel, they launch an epic journey into uncharted waters and make a lot of history along the way. It is very, very beautiful in terms of its animation, its soundtrack, and again, I really like the voice performances in this as well. Kind of when you go put it down to the nitty gritty and what this movie is about, if you've seen How to Train Your Dragon, you've seen this movie already, but not saying that it isn't very, very well executed. Again, animation's absolutely stellar. I love the characters. There's a lot of cute characters, a really great message at the center of this film. It was really, really fun to watch. My girlfriend and I loved just about every single second of it. It's a little slow to get started, but about at the halfway point, it really picks up and turns into something absolutely special that, again, does differ from the How to Train Your Dragons movies a little bit, but same kind of overall story and message, and something too that I found was similar enough to those movies, but enough to make it its own. And it did a really, really good job of it. Again, absolutely loved it. Animation is just so perfect in so many ways. And yeah, this movie just made me happy, made me feel a lot of things. Great characters. It can be a little projectable, of course, but truly with everything taken together, I'm going to have to give the CBs a 7.5 out of 10. Highly recommend it. It's easily one of the best animated films that I've seen this year. And yeah, it's on Netflix. Very easy binge. Good for adults, kids, everyone in the mix. But yeah, really recommend it. Carl Urban knocks it out of the park and just a great movie in so many ways. So next up on the list is Brian and Charles. This is a movie that takes place in Wales. It's about 90 minutes long. It premiered at the Sundance Film Festival and got a lot of praise, so I checked it out, loved the trailer, and of course finally got to see this movie. So after a very particular harsh winter, a man named Brian goes into a very deep depression. He's completely isolated, no one to talk to, so he does what any sane human being would do in such a melancholic situation. He builds a robot, an AI, and eventually becomes friends with him. He is basically kind of down on his luck, but what he does is he creates inventions to get by, and a lot of these are really, really kind of inventive and fun inventions, but it's just super impractical things. So one of them is he wants to build a plane with a cuckoo clock on top of it that'll fly around the town. So if anyone doesn't have a watch on them or doesn't have a phone, wants to know what the time is, all they have to look up and is see a cuckoo clock. But the cuckoo clock stands no taller than I am, and I'm 6 foot. So just really, really funny things like that. It's extremely quirky, goofy humor, some like similar-ish to like the Napoleon Dynamite style humor, but maybe a lot more charm to it, of course. I really like the characters that are in this movie. Loved Brian. He's just an absolute sweetheart. You're rooting for him the whole time. And then Charles is absolutely hilarious. I love the way that, of course, he speaks in just kind of the Microsoft Sam kind of automated voices, and some of the things that they get him to say are really, really funny. There's one of my favorite ones was he wants to go to Honolulu. So he sees adverts on TV for it, and he can't, of course, the voice that he has can't pronounce Honolulu, so he gets Honolulu, Honolulu. He just all these things that basically every single bad rendition of Honolulu you can think of, he says throughout the movie. But yeah, there's a lot of charm in it. I found a good, funny villain, a really touching story about, well, just so many things that are in this, but isolation, depression, honesty, letting your children grow, letting, of course, too, just experience life in so many ways. I thought was just really, really well done. Great message about love, great message about bullying and things like that. It's just a very, very touching movie that I loved in so many ways. And it's easily to kind of, I think, gonna be a sleeper hit this year for me, because I just absolutely loved every single second of this movie, and I really want to watch it again. I think I might after I finish this review here, because I really, really enjoyed it. And with everything taken together, I'm gonna have to give Brian Charles an 8.5 out of 10. It's easily one of my favorite films that I've seen this year. I really hope that it can stay on my top 10. I really do think that I can, because again, there's just so much that I love about this movie. It has so much charm, great underlying messages throughout the entire thing. Paced extremely well. The 90-minute runtime, I think, just worked super, super well. It just made me smile and love all the characters that were in it throughout the entire thing. So if you're gonna check out any of the movies that I've reviewed so far, make certain Brian and Charles is one of them. And the last film I have is Gold. You will find this one on Amazon Prime. It is just a little over 90 minutes long, and it stars Zac Efron. So in the not too distant future, a drifter, so Zac Efron's character, travels through the deserts and discovers the largest golden nuggets ever found to man. So he must guard it from thieves and extremely harsh conditions, wild dogs, while waiting for his partner, who takes him out there, to return. With an excavator, of course, just strong enough to get his nugget out of there and make them both rich. There is basically a war that has torn the world apart, and they want to make certain that they find any wealth in this desert before just some random walker does. So yes, Zac Efron is left to defend the nuggets, and yeah, it is a survival movie. So while extremely predictable in a lot of ways, especially in terms of the ending, and even though too, a lot of this film feels very, very empty, I feel like it's going to be way too boring for most people to get into. It is a really good survival movie, and it has some pretty powerful and just extremely well acted scenes by Zac Efron in this. Again, it's just in terms of the survival elements, very, very well done in terms of just having to survive in the desert, extreme heat, wild dogs. Again, there's just a lot of cool things that they do in the film, but I just found it was really, really empty in a lot of ways in terms of its story. I mean, they do a really good job using the setting and reading a little bit about how they were able to get a lot of the shots that they did and just having to basically film in the elements that you see in this film. It's very, very impressive how they're able to pull this movie off. But with just a very predictable storyline and just how the events take place, and even to kind of end in what I found was a very predictable and kind of disappointing way, there still is kind of, like I said too, just a lot to kind of applaud this film for being able to do. So I'm gonna give it a 6 out of 10. I don't believe I'm ever going to watch it again because again, just a lot of it is really slow and boring to get through. There's not really a whole lot to this movie, but in terms of again, just the survival elements that it had in it, I was impressed by a few things quite a few times during this movie. So if you've seen any of these movies, please let me know what you thought about them in the comments down below. And of course, if you like this edition of Rapid Fire Reviews, give it a thumbs up, and you can check out everything I do on my channel. I'll link some playlists up top here for convenience sake. Thank you for subscribing and turning that little bell on so you know when I upload new videos. If you want to check out everything I do live stream and Twitch-wise, link to that in the description of this video, and of course my channel bio. And in both of those places, you'll find a link to the Media Mountain, which is my Discord where we talk about movies, video games, comic books, TV, pretty much everything that's awesome in this world. So you can definitely join that amazing community. I'll make it even more amazing than it is already, and just awesome, guys.
Sky blue eyes, I see a world behind them. No more time sinking into the silence.